Elisey.
So I always love talking about God, so I really appreciate coming up here talking, Jamin letting me do this. And I also like talking about God randomly to other people. Like a couple of years ago, I was on a vacation, and at the hotel there was this one worker, super cool guy, awesome guy, always smiling, always cracking jokes to me and my brother. And so we were just chatting with this guy for about 20 minutes, which is kind of weird, just talking to an employee that barely knows you for 20 minutes. But he was cool. He was cool. And so we just started to just drop this bomb question on him, just out of nowhere. It was, what is your secret to happiness? Because we see this guy and we figured out that he works around 12 hours a day for minimum wage in really bad conditions. And he told me that the secret is to love what you do. And then he further went on to say that God provides him with everything that he needs. And I feel like in today's age, a very big problem that Christians have is when trying to grow closer to God, a very big thing is doubting that God will provide you with what you need. So if you start praying for things, as we often do, we just kind of ask for a bunch of things like, God, I want you to bless me with this. God, can you please just give me an A on my math assignment? I really don't want to study. And we just ask and ask and ask. But is that how we should be praying? And how often are we really worried about what God will provide? And a really big thing that goes into that is just kind of worrying about what is to come. That's also really goes into that. I know a lot of people that are just worried about the future, constantly being worried about, will God provide me with the things I need? How am I going to get through all of these things that are happening? And how do I just handle all of this stress? But I understand it. I struggle with these things too sometimes, because the future is kind of scary. It's unknown, and that's why we really fear it. And that's why kids also fear the dark. They don't know what's over there, maybe boogeyman. And so Matthew is really good for this stuff. Matthew, the gospel, talks a lot about praying. And in Matthew chapter 6, verses 26 to 27, it mentions about worrying. So Matthew chapter 6, verse 26 to 27 says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" Worrying about the future, as I said, is a lot about being scared of the unknown. But what if you do know your next steps, but you're still anxious, or not even scared at all, actually? I want to take an example, Jonah in the Old Testament. He had his stuff planned out pretty well, and God just came and was nah, and just flipped his entire plans just on its head. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh, but God just threw him into a whale and said, "You're going to Nineveh." And that's just a really important thing to understand, that your plans that you have set up may not fully come into succession, but God is still watching over you to make sure that the things that you're meant to do will come, and the things that do happen were meant to happen for a very specific reason. Now, being worried about the things that God will provide you with is another thing. And in Matthew chapter 3, verse 4, it actually talks about John the Baptist. Now, a little bit of story, or context of John the Baptist. He is just this really weird guy. His diet, you want to guess what his diet is? Close. Locusts, which are basically grasshoppers, and honey. That's his diet. And he also wore a tunic out of camel's hair with a leather belt, right? Yeah, leather belt. That's insane. But God continued to take care of him. And John the Baptist was acknowledged by Jesus as one of the greatest people to come before Jesus. And John the Baptist was actually highly respected and sought for by other Jewish people and other Christians to get baptized. So if someone survived in the wilderness with only locusts and honey, how much more will God take care of you wherever you are currently? That just came to me like last night, and I was like, that's insane. I don't know why I didn't think of John the Baptist immediately. And another person who was really reliant on God for protection and just being taken care of was David, the king in the Old Testament. He was just always getting chased. He was always trying to get killed. Well, not trying to get killed. People were trying to kill him just constantly. But God continued to take care of him, and he's now acknowledged as one of the greatest kings of Israel. And when you ask God for things, God will take care of the things that he knows that you need. Like, I don't want to compare people to dogs. However, this is a really good example. Like, how many people here like have a dog, like a pet dog? Right. You know what, like when you're cooking something, like, yeah, like he's just begging you for just boiling hot water. If you give him boiling hot water, he's gonna burn himself. And I feel like that's a really good example to compare us begging for things that we really want to God. And so just to kind of close, oftentimes we feel really distant from God because we don't see evidence of him fulfilling our prayers. But God is still taking care of us with his wisdom and knowledge. So faith through prayer that we have to him is not just about belief in getting what we ask for. It's having enough trust in him through his kindness and wisdom and timing to grant us the things that we ask. 1 John chapter 5 verse 14, it says, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he will hear us." So the things that we ask for will happen if it is to his will. And so, yeah. I want me to pray? Oh, okay, yeah, sure.